$1 million at 22 is generational wealth. $1 million at 65 is $1 million. Same number, 7 different lives. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which stage you're racing and what waiting just one more year actually costs you. Everyone wants $1 million. Almost nobody asks when. Because when is the entire game. At 8% annual return, average S&P performance, a single dollar today is worth a wildly different dollar at every age. We're walking 7 stages: 22, 25, 30, 35, 45, 55, and 65. By stage 4, half of you tap out. By stage 6, the entire premise starts breaking. By stage 7, there's no math left to do. Let's go! Stage 1. $1 million at 22. You just graduated. You inherited it. You won it. You sold something. Doesn't matter how. What matters is what it becomes. Compounded at 8% for 43 years, that $1 million becomes $27 million. You don't work. Ever. Not because you're lazy, because math. You buy a house in cash at 25. You travel for 3 years. You start the company you actually want to start, not the one you have to start. The runway is so long you cannot run out of it. The downside is gone. Picture your average week at 22 with $27 million in your name. You wake up when you want. You take meetings because they're interesting, not because rent is due. You drop 40 grand on a sabbatical year, and your portfolio earns it back in 2 months without you noticing. You know you're at stage 1 if you got a windfall before your first real job. Your parents paid for college. You're figuring out what you want to do with 0 financial pressure. Almost no 22-year-old has this. The ones that do mostly waste it because nobody told them about the math. The point of this video is you don't get to use that excuse. Stage 2. 3 years later. $1 million at 25. $22 million. You lost $5 million by waiting 3 years. 3 years that, when you were living them, felt like nothing. This is the trap of being young. 3 years feels infinite when you're inside them. 3 years of compounding is worth $5 million. But 25 is still elite. You still never work again. You still travel. You still start the company. The number just got a haircut. 22 million is still permanent vacation money. You know you're at stage 2 if you're a few years post-grad, the windfall just hit, and you're tempted to live a little before investing it. The live a little just cost you $5 million. If anyone tells you 25 is still early, yeah, it is. For life, not for compounding. Stage 3. $1 million at 30. $15 million by 65. Still life-changing. But notice what just happened. From 22 to 30, the number dropped from 27 to 15. You lost $12 million by waiting 8 years. At 30, you start hearing people say, "I'm behind." They're not behind on saving. They're behind on time. 15 million still buys you a quiet life, just not a loud one. You retire at 50. You stop optimizing every dollar. You buy back your weekends. Stage 3 in 2026 looks like a $2 million house, a 4-day work week by choice, and a portfolio that throws off $90,000 a year in dividends alone, before you've touched the principal. You take a sabbatical every 3 years. Your kids hit private school and you don't blink. You know you're at stage 3 if the windfall came from your first business exit, your equity vesting, or a death in the family. You're old enough to know what to do with it, young enough that you still have leverage. Most 30-year-olds at stage 3 blow it within 5 years. The lifestyle inflation hits before the compounding does. Stage 4. $1 million at 35. $10 million. This is the stage where most people who get $1 million get it. Mid-career inheritance. A business sale. A crypto windfall. A late stock vest. Whatever the source, 35 is the median age for a first life-changing dollar amount in this country. 10 million sounds like a lot. It is, but it's not generational. It's very comfortable retirement plus a vacation home and the kids' college paid for. The kid's college is paid for. You stop checking your bank balance before purchases. But you didn't escape work. You bought yourself the option to leave. Most people would take that deal. They should. The difference between stage 3 and stage 4 is 5 years of compounding and $5 million of outcome. Same windfall, 2 different lives. Stage 3 buys a quiet life. Stage 4 buys a comfortable life with a few non-negotiables. Same dollar, a haircut every 5 years you wait. You know you're at stage 4 if you're mid-career, the windfall is real, and you're suddenly the friend everyone asks for investment advice. Don't give it. Stage 5. $1 million at 45. 4.7 million by 65. Comfortable retirement. Period. End of sentence. At 45, $1 million stops being a wealth event. It starts being a safety event. You pay off the house. You max the retirement accounts. You give yourself permission to slow down at 55 instead of 70. Most people don't realize the math has shifted under them. They still talk about $1 million like it changes everything. At 45, it changes a little. It buys you a softer 10 years before retirement, not a different life. You know you're at stage 5 if your kids are in middle school, your career is at its peak, and the $1 million just hit from a parent's estate or a long-vested grant. You're not getting rich, you're getting safe. That's still a win, just rename it. The brutal part of stage 5 is that you start counting in years left, not years lived. 20 years to compound feels like a long time. It is not. You blink and it's gone. The 45-year-olds who do this right are the ones who treat the windfall like a deadline, not a finish line. Stage 6. $1 million at 55. 2.2 million by 65. That's it. 10 years of compounding is barely enough to double the money. At 55, $1 million is not retirement money. It's supplemental retirement money. You're still working. You're still saving. The $1 million arriving now means you retire 2 years earlier than you would have, or with a slightly bigger cushion. It does not change the shape of your life. This is the stage where people start saying, money isn't everything. They're right, but only because they don't have enough time left for the math to make it everything. You know you're at stage 6 if you're staring down 60, you got the windfall, and you can finally afford to retire on schedule instead of late. That's still a win. Just don't romanticize it. This is your dad's stage, your parents' stage. The people you grew up watching grind for 40 years finally hit the number, and then realize the number does not buy back the 40 years they spent earning it. They're not bitter. They're aware. If you're watching this and your dad is at stage 6, call him. The math doesn't change, but the conversation will. Stage 7. $1 million at 65. It's $1 million. There's nothing left for the math to do. At the 4% safe withdrawal rate, that $1 million produces $40,000 a year. For life. Or 30 years, whichever ends first. $40,000 a year is a comfortable life in a low cost of living town. It's not a comfortable life anywhere else. You know you're at stage 7 if you spent 40 years working, saved diligently, and just hit retirement with $1 million in your accounts. That's a respectable result. It's also not the wealth story you saw on Instagram. Add Social Security on top. Average benefit in 2026 is $23,000 a year, and you're at $63,000 a year total. That is a median American retirement. Not rich, not poor, median. The thing the entire personal finance internet is trying to sell you a way out of. Same dollar, same million. 43 years of difference in what it actually means. So where does this leave you? If you're under 30, the math says one thing. Start now. Not because saving is a virtue, because the price of waiting is staggering, and the bill comes due decades later when you cannot pay it. If you're 30 to 45, you still have real leverage. 20 years of compounding triples your money. You haven't lost the game. You've lost a few rounds. Past 45, the play changes. You're not compounding your way out. You're earning your way out. The skills, the business, the income, those become the math, not the market. Here's the only thing you do today, regardless of stage. You open a brokerage account if you don't have one. You set up automatic contributions, even if it's $50 a week. You stop waiting for the windfall and start becoming the windfall. Because the people you saw at stage 1 didn't get there from a windfall. Most of them got there because someone before them started early. The compounding was inherited. You don't have to inherit it, but you do have to start it. The million is never the answer. Time was the answer. If this called you out, subscribe and tag the person in your life who still thinks they have plenty of time.